Good evening. This is CTV News for Wednesday, November the 20th. I'm Sonia Shrivastava.
And I'm Patricia Vallone. Glad to have you with us this Thanksgiving Eve. Well, AAA says travel will be up slightly across the country for this Thanksgiving holiday. About 43 million people are expected to journey 50 miles or more between Wednesday and Sunday. That's a slight jump of 0.7%. So what does that mean for people here who are heading out of town? Denise Douglas has the details.
So far, things are looking good for Chuck Stevens and his wife, who are taking Amtrak to New York to visit family.
I actually expected more traffic on the Beltway, not necessarily 270, but more on the Beltway. And I expected the train to be late, but being a minute late, that's fine. That's no big thing.
A spokeswoman for the rail company says travel has been steady and trains on time. They could see upwards of 140,000 people from today through the weekend. That number would be up by about 2,000 from last year.
I have a reservation, so I'm in good shape.
Okay, not worried about travel?
No, not at all.
Still, when it comes to overall travel, there won't be much change for Marylanders. 883,000 will journey 50 miles or more from home. That breaks down to about 800,000 by road, 61,000 by air, and the remainder taking other modes of transportation.
We think that people really, for Thanksgiving, it's one of those holidays where people really want to be with family and friends, and we see that even despite the economy still being somewhat sluggish and some people still having somewhat financial issues, people still have that desire.
And some advice for travelers?
Well, with air travel particularly, make sure that you, and actually the same is true for train travel, make sure you give yourself plenty of time, but particularly at the airports where you have to go through the security process. I think that's most important. Give yourself ample time to get there. Again, you won't be the only one on the plane, so give yourself ample time.
Denise Douglas, CTV News.
And in addition to visiting family for the holiday, AAA says expect to see folks out and about dining and shopping.
More than 700 volunteers will gather on Thanksgiving morning to give of their time and deliver meals to children and families in need. Today, officials from Prince George's chipped in and helped prepare some of those meals. CTV's Molly Nivola is in the district with more.
Well, the county executive calls it a season of giving, and that's truly what it is here today. I'm at Food and Friends, a nonprofit organization in Northeast Washington, D.C., where he, along with State's Attorney Angela Alsobrooks, are preparing more than 3,500 Thanksgiving meals to those in need.
One of the things I really like about coming to Food and Friends, not only that they do a great job serving those who have critical illness, but they also, volunteers come here, they can tell you exactly what to do. They utilize every volunteer. They run a great operation. They serve that critical need, that gap that we ask the nonprofit and faith community to do.
I can't say enough good things about this organization. They're serving people who are at home or are too ill to prepare their own food anymore. They typically have, terminal illnesses or very debilitating illnesses, cancer, HIV/AIDS, and it is, I told them when I visited here last year, I said, you're really doing God's work. I mean, they are feeding people who are hungry and unable to provide for themselves, and I just can't think of a better way to spend the day before Thanksgiving.
Well, what we try to do is, not just me, but my staff and other volunteers from around the city, is to try to give back around the holidays, whether it's Thanksgiving or Christmas. And this is something we've been doing for years. It's also important to understand that people are in need not just around the holidays, and folks need to volunteer their time throughout the year, not just during Thanksgiving and Christmas, even though that's an important time.
Now, Food and Friends actually donates 25% of its food overall to Prince George's County, and the county executive himself says he urges all Prince Georges to donate some of their time this holiday season to give back and volunteer. Reporting in Northeast Washington, Molly Nivola, CTV News.
All right, thank you, Molly. And as you can see, there is no shortage of volunteers today. Now, Food and Friends started back in 1988 with just 20 volunteers. Well, there are at least 2 turkeys that won't be on a Thanksgiving table tomorrow. As is tradition, President Barack Obama pardoned Cobbler and his alternative Gobbler, both 19-week, 40-pound turkeys in a ceremony in the Rose Garden. It is the 65th time that the pardon has been done. The president also took the time to wish American families a warm, safe, and healthy holiday.
The Obama administration moves forward today to implement more provisions of the Affordable Care Act. Changes would include making it illegal for insurance companies to discriminate against people with pre-existing conditions. Other provisions would make it easier for consumers to compare health plans and for businesses to promote and encourage employee wellness. The proposed rule would take effect beginning in 2014.
A man is dead after being shot in Laurel. Police were called out to the 11,000 block of South Laurel Drive around 11:45 yesterday evening. The victim has been identified as 43-year-old James Cornell of Ellicott City. A preliminary investigation suggests whoever shot Cornell targeted the location, which was set up as an illegal gambling operation. So far, police don't have a suspect. Anyone with information, though, about the murder is asked to call them at 1-866-411-TIPS.
Maryland's Attorney General upholds a legal opinion that prevents former Delegate Tiffany Alston from returning to public office. In a letter to Governor O'Malley, Doug Gansler confirms that Alston's seat became vacant at the time of her sentencing in a theft case last month. Alston was found guilty of stealing $800 from the General Assembly last spring to pay an employee of her private law firm. The sentence was changed to probation before judgment this month, essentially voiding the guilt finding. The opinion came hours before the Democratic Central Committee was trying to decide whether to withdraw businessman Greg Hall's nomination to replace Alston. Hall's troubled past includes a murder charge from 20 years ago that was dropped. O'Malley has until Monday to act on Hall's nomination. Well, one of the suspects allegedly involved in the August death of Prince George's officer Adrian Morris is arraigned today. 23-year-old Kayvon Neal of Fort Washington will go to trial in mid-March. He is charged with motor vehicle manslaughter, felony theft, and a slew of other charges. Authorities say Neal was the driver of the stolen silver Acura that led police on a high-speed chase on I-95. Officer Morris lost control of his cruiser, crashed into a ravine, and died. Well, you are watching CTV News. I'm Patricia Vallone.
And I'm Sonia Shervas.